Okay, can you see my full screen now?
We see your slide, yes.
Okay, all right, let's get started. Welcome. I am Pat Miller, as you can see by my name in my screen. And of course, you know my husband, Steve. We are co-chairs of building electrification teams in several organizations. We're going to make a case today that the first order solution to managing our energy system is to create more clean energy. The thing that drives our interest in clean energy is the knowledge that burning fossil fuels is the primary cause of climate change, and our mission, our personal mission, is to leave a livable world for our children and grandchildren. So today we'll be talking about how we can fight the fossil fuel interests that are causing our electric rates to spike and threatening our environment, our health, and our lives at the same time. First, we'll talk about some basics of the electric grid, its reliability and its pricing. Second, we'll talk about the proliferation of power-hungry data centers and the effects they are having on all of us. We'll discuss what we can do to conserve in our own lives. And four, we'll examine some proposed actions to change laws and regulations so they favor consumers rather than corporations. Finally, we'll look at new technology coming down the road that has the potential to deliver us the power we need and help the environment at the same time. Many of these topics have been covered separately in several of our previous webinars. This talk attempts to bring them all together and show how they affect our electricity rates and what we can do about it as stakeholders. And a huge thank you to Betsy Longendorfer and Mike Winka for creating the content in several of the slides. We'll use ourselves as an example. Our electricity bill is now 20% higher than it was a year ago. It was $450 this past December versus only $350 the year before. We're almost all electric, so the gas bill is always pretty low. Steve is going to tell you how the fossil fuel interests have cooked the books so that we are seeing more gas generation proposed as a solution and clean energy being locked out. In truth, solar and wind can be built and online in 1 to 3 years, while it takes a gas plant close to 5 years and even more with today's circumstances. And look at the price in this chart. Renewables really are the cheapest form of energy today. These are US averages. If you want to bring your bill down immediately and at lowest cost, the green bar at the top is energy efficiency, which means weatherizing or insulating and air sealing your home. It is, of course, the cheapest because it lowers the amount of electricity that you use. The next two cheapest energy sources are onshore wind in blue and utility scale solar in gold. And then comes gas, which is now rising in price because of the Iran war. Nuclear, the purple at the bottom, is most expensive and would also take us about 10 years or more to build. And I'm happy to report that in the US, renewables are just beginning to be the leading source of utility scale electricity generation. In this graph, renewables are the red line. You can see the seasonal variation. The electricity peak is in the summer with air conditioning, but the trend line is definitely up. Last month, renewables exceeded gas for the first time, which is good news because they are cheaper to buy. So now Steve is going to explain how our utility pricing happens.
This picture of PJM uh, sort of managing the PJM grid, a huge grid of 13 states. It's sort of like the way I feel. I've been personally attending selected PJM committee meetings for the last half year or more, in fact. So I'm personally pretty tied into some of the things they're doing. So if you have questions, just ask. This is the PJM control room, managed in real time, as it always is, 24 hours a day. This is the nerve center of the high voltage electric grid. That's what distinguishes PJM from JC, the New Jersey utilities, where the utilities are less than 40,000 volts, and this PJM is anything above that voltage. So system operators at PJM manage the flow of power around the clock for 65 million people in 13 states and Washington, D.C. Their PJM is called our Regional Transmission Organization, RTO. And PJM stands for the original PA, NJ, and Maryland founders, PJM. It's the beige, next one, sorry. The beige colored portion of this map, extending all the way to Chicago, is PJM. PJM and the other regional transmission organizations across the United States are regulated by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. That's called FERC. And I will be talking about FERC many times in this talk. PJM supplies electricity, so therefore close to a quarter of the U.S. population. So it's very, very important for our country. Your utility bill, next, is divided into two parts. About 40% are the cost to deliver energy to you, all the wires, some of the local generating plants, and other infrastructure that constitutes the local electric grid. That part is regulated by your New Jersey Board of Public Utilities. But that is not the part that's increasing our bills so far, although it will be if we have to start building to accommodate the increasing load. About 60% of the bill is actual cost of the energy that's supplied and managed by PJM, and that's the part of the bill that's going up dramatically. Next. So energy is paid in two parts. Historically, 75% is the actual energy that's purchased from PJM. It's what you use every day by day. And in addition, 15% is paid for the extra capacity to the energy suppliers who are paid to stand by just in case they are needed during peak time. Peaker plants may not ever run except during extreme events, although they really are running 100%. In fact, they keep the turbines running, even though they're not really used. That 15% is for plant depreciation and their profit, but it's now being jacked up an order of magnitude, as we describe in the next slide. There is a daily auction for energy you use, as well as real-time energy auctions held as often as every 5 minutes. So this chart shows how these auctions work. PJM forecasts the next several years of demand based on all utilities forecasts. In this simplified example, 850 megawatts is forecasted at least 2 years ahead for 2028 to 29, and that's the black bar on the right. Electricity suppliers offer chunks of energy at a particular price, here for a total of 1,200 megawatts, and the auction starts with the lowest bids. So all bids at $20 are shown here stacked and yield 300 megawatts. All bids at $30 are stacked for another 300 megawatts. Then all bids for $50 are stacked until the desired 850 megawatts is met. The $50 price is the highest priced marginal market clearing price. Then the entire block is offered at $50. Every supplier that's selected receives the maximum price. Now, this is one rule we think needs to be rethought. You would not expect the lowest bidders to automatically get their prices jacked up to equal the highest bidder. Next. These are the actual electrical demand forecasts for PJM. The curve on the top is the summer forecast, which is considerably higher than the winter forecast on the bottom. Blue is the 2024 forecast, and green is the 2025 forecast. Three things happened. For many years in the past, the curves were pretty much flat with ripples. In 2024, the forecast included the first of the new data centers that were coming in at phenomenally higher electrical bids. In the 2025 forecast was even higher than 2024. Now, many or most of those forecasts were for data centers that are proposed and haven't even been built. They may have been speculative, and the utilities didn't even know if they were duplicates proposed in several locations. Next. PJM membership is highly dominated. Go, Pat. You're supposed to turn.
I know.
Okay, I'm just going to continue. It's highly dominated by fossil fuel interests. Over recent years, PJM received a large number of renewable energy proposals. We have heard maybe 1,000. Each could have been relatively easy and quickly built, contrasted to fossil fuel generators, and would have produced low-cost electricity. But PJM ignored the growing queue, there you go, thank you, in favor of the existing fossil fuel membership. Maybe half the renewable projects dropped out of queue in that time, and only in the last 2 years did environmental organizations become aware of the enormity of the renewable backlog and began pushing PJM for renewables, and PJM finally succumbed to pressure and assigned staff to begin renewable project entry and evaluation, and also put a portion of the renewable electric queue on a fast-track evaluation. The good news is, first, that renewables are beginning to become a significant portion of current PJM electric production, and two, by the end of 2026, PJM expects to empty the years-long renewable queue awaiting the beginning of review. On this map of PJM renewables, the gold dots are solar, wind is pink, and black is hydroelectric. Notice New Jersey on the right. It has the highest concentration of proposed renewable projects. We did not show this on the map, but recently PJM opened the floodgates on its multi-year fossil fuel backup. The result is maybe 800 new fossil fuel and renewable electric sources just added to the PJM evaluation queue. And most of these future fossil fuel electric sources will take years to get into production because major components like gas turbine generators have a 6-year backlog. Next. So what happened in the last year to New Jersey electric prices? You will hear more during the conclusion of Pat's remarks. But you can see the 2025 to 2026 prices jumped tenfold. Without our efforts, prices might have risen, who knows, maybe $1,000. But a coalition of states led by Pennsylvania Governor Shapiro raised up in arms and forced PJM to place temporary price caps on the capacity auction. You can see those in the right and red on the right. Without the cap, prices would have been much higher. Just 3 weeks ago, as a result of intense pressure from White House going downward and pressure upward from the 13 PJM states, FERC required PJM to implement the same price caps in the next 2 auctions. So in 2 months, the July auction determines the electric prices 2028 through 2029. And then the subsequent capacity auction is this December, which determines the electric prices 2029 to 2030. So the result will be stability of price into 2030, but at the same high price of roughly $325. This gives us about 4 years to implement measures to put in place many remedies. And we'll talk about many of those. These remedies reduce the peak electrical needs and reduce the need to build up the underlying generation sources for meeting those peak needs. Next. We call this the duck curve. It shows peak energy. This shows a typical net electrical load for 24 hours on March 31st for 9 consecutive years. The electrical load shows increasingly huge drop during the daytime because rooftop solar and other solar sources have become increasingly installed and reduced the grid load between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. Our challenge, though, is to lower the peak demand at the duck head over to the right, occurring on this curve about 9 p.m. To be reliable, the grid has to handle the peak. The peak determines our price of electricity, since all chosen suppliers are paid the maximum accepted price. Now, options to reduce that peak load include many things. New Jersey, in particular, is creating many grid-scale solar systems, which are going to be charging grid-scale batteries during the day, and they discharge later to reduce that peak time of that duck head. And also, New Jersey's creating other programs like virtual power plants, which we discuss later. That's my big picture view. I turn the baton back to Pat to discuss data centers.
Okay. This is the next important factor in all of this, in the explosive growth of power-hungry AI and crypto data centers. In New Jersey, our electricity has been flat or decreasing over the last 2 decades, as you saw in some of those graphs, as we and our appliances have become more efficient. Now, that has abruptly changed with the advent of data centers, which most of us never even noticed before. Data centers are now everywhere. The dots represent their size. And just look at the infrastructure needed to support and connect them. The large ones, called hyperscalers, consume as much electricity as an entire city. So if a large data center is built in or near a city, the electrical infrastructure needed to support it would double the city's current grid and power generation. Every data center built anywhere in PJM territory causes the price of electricity to increase for all of us in PJM because of PJM's current auction rules that all power generated will be bought for the highest bid accepted to reliably meet the demand for the entire region. So what is a data center? It's one or more buildings that has servers, hardware, networking equipment, and so on. Growth is driven mostly by demand for AI. There are more than 80 data centers today in New Jersey, with more proposed. Energy use for a single one can be anywhere from about 20 megawatts, which is about the size of an industrial plant, to 100 megawatts or more. Data centers were responsible for 63% of the PJM price increase in the 2024 auction, and that's according to the study shown in the reference there. Residents in Vineland, New Jersey, in the picture at the bottom, are fighting a 2.6 million square foot, 300 megawatt AI data center surrounded by farms. The plan for it was to supply electricity entirely by on-site gas-burning generation with diesel backup generators. Now, there was a lot of opposition to that. So they're suggesting that they use gas-sourced fuel cells, but it's still gas. So either way, 100% fossil fuel would threaten New Jersey's climate-related carbon emission goals. Data center, there are many other bad impacts of data centers besides their gigantic energy use and causing costly new infrastructure to be built just for them. Fossil fuel generation, either gas or diesel, is highly polluting and noisy. Their high water use for cooling worsens the drought we're already seeing here in New Jersey and across the country and the world. There are often no building siting codes that keep them away from homes or protected land. And they are making backdoor agreements with towns for tax abatements that are hidden from the tax-paying public. Make no mistake, these are rich corporations like Microsoft and Meta that state and city governments are subsidizing with our money. So, what needs to be done to protect regular people? A lot. Data centers need to pay upfront for all the costs incurred on their behalf. They need to be taxed at full value, not subsidized. There need to be limits on water use, whether it's drinking water or natural resources like lakes or rivers. There have to be strong emissions controls. Often a municipality can approve permits without any oversight. There have to be state-level planning standards, and we need full disclosure and reporting of all these impacts. And FYI, data centers do not create local jobs beyond the short-term construction jobs. The most employees we have seen for even the largest active data center is maybe a dozen. Computers run themselves without human intervention, as you know, as soon as they are built and plugged in, so there may be one or two people on site at any given time. Sierra Club has developed a set of data center policies for states to follow. There are 4 overarching goals. The first is to protect existing customers, meaning data centers must pay their own way. 2, clean energy comes first. A few large data centers burning fossil fuel can completely blow away the state's climate emissions goals. I can't overstate how large these data centers are becoming now. 3 is fairness for all in tax rates and in utility rates. And 4, which maybe should be number 1, is to protect public health. One simple step might be to require battery backup instead of diesel generators as backup. Finally, I've listed some DC resources that might be helpful to you, and you'll get the slides with the links that work in them in a couple of days. These webinars, there are 2 outstanding webinars that were presented recently by Sierra Club New Jersey chapter on data centers, and they talked about what they are and how communities are standing up against them. The third link is to a toolkit for communities to organize, as several of them have organized and won, against data centers coming to their town. This also includes a sample municipal resolution opposing local data center development that a town that you could get your town to sign. So let's move on to part 3, and what can we do about rising energy costs? This is the part our building electrification team has been preaching about for many years, building electrification and efficiency with 100% clean energy. You've seen the familiar house picture. It shows the many ways we can go about saving energy in our own homes, from 1, solar panels on the roof, 2, insulated and air-sealed walls, floors, attic, windows and doors, 4, electric car and charger in the garage, heat pump, water heater and dryer, 7, induction stove, smart thermostat, and finally 9, the heat pump for heating and cooling. Also, you know about our crusade against burning fossil fuels. They are the problem, not only in buildings, but in electricity generation with gas, coal, or oil, and also gasoline or diesel vehicles. Besides causing climate change, their air pollution threatens public health and causes millions of deaths each year. If you want to lower your electricity bill, the very first thing you need to do is to stop heating and cooling the outdoors. I know you've all heard this, and many of you have done something about it. If your home is more than a few years old and you have not taken efficiency measures like insulating and air sealing, then you are heating the outdoors. The fastest and cheapest way to lower your electricity bill is to keep your heat indoors. Here's something you can do, a simple do-it-yourself project for duct sealing. It uses caulking cord. These are products that you can buy, use them yourself, and it's fairly inexpensive. Pressurized foam for large gaps, aluminum foil tape to seal joints in insulation, duct sealant, reflective bubble wrap to wrap air ducts in unheated areas. You can do this yourself, or you can hire a contractor. This is an energy efficiency job our daughter had done a few years ago by Seal Power that included insulation in walls, air sealing, and a heat pump water heater. New Jersey has generous rebates for such energy efficiency work. And if your income is below a certain point, the state does this and more for free with the Comfort Partners program. The second best thing to do is to get solar on your roof, as our church, the UU Congregation of Monmouth County, did a few years ago. Or sign up for community solar if rooftop is not feasible for you. We have community solar personally in our house and get a 20% discount below utility rates. And some of you I know have experienced a bottleneck and a long wait for community solar. But New Jersey has just approved projects that will greatly expand the community solar network starting in the next year or so. So get yourself into the queue as soon as possible. The next obvious thing is to drive an EV. We no longer have to pay for gasoline at all, and for cars, electric is much cheaper than gas. We've shown you our Prius plug-in before. Many of you have seen this talk. It's 8 years old now. It's actually a plug-in hybrid EV. We use it only for short trips that can run entirely on the battery now because we now have a full EV, which we bought last year just as the federal incentives were running out. So we're now zero emissions transportation. We don't worry too much about our stove because we have an electric ceramic cooktop that you see in the front. Between that and the microwave and the toaster oven, we don't even use the gas stove, which is still there in the picture in the background that you see at all. It's just completely turned off. We will want to replace it with an induction stove and turn off our gas service before we sell our house, but for now it's fine. The induction stove, though, is much more efficient with a magnetic current that heats much faster and distributes the heat more evenly. And you can buy a 1 or 2 burner portable hot plate that supports all the software functions of a full-size stove for about $100. Last but not least are our heat pump appliances. The outdoor heat pump unit is shown here at the left, along with its indoor blower unit. We plan to replace our gas furnace with another heat pump this year. This is the heat pump water heater and the heat pump washer dryer combo. These appliances are all super efficient and use much less energy than their gas counterparts. And I want to mention that we are still running our electrification coaching network and education materials for anyone who would like one-on-one advice on any of these electrification issues. And for these references, as I said, you'll get the slides and you'll be able to link on these references. But the QR code is to request coaching advice. Now, I'll give a brief summary of some of the laws and regulations that are in the making, and then Steve can reveal some of the new technologies and advances that are on the horizon. These are some of the changes that are needed in either the legislative or regulatory realm. And you can see at the top of each box who needs to make them happen in parentheses. On the left in green are new clean energy and better use of the grid that we have. We desperately need the first tranche of offshore wind, which, as you know, has been stymied by the current federal administration. Also, we need better use of our existing transmission with stronger demand response programs that would lower the peak demand. In orange, we need PJM or its regulator, FERC, to step up and approve more clean energy projects in the queue. And the auction rules that are now under the control of fossil fuel interests need to be fixed. In black is legislation to allow more clean energy, rein in data centers, and boost new technology. We and our environmental allies are working on all these fronts. And some of these are starting to get some traction as a result of Governor Sherrill's early executive orders. In New Jersey, after a disappointing lame duck session last fall, and certainly because of Governor Sherrill's rash of executive orders, there seems to be movement on energy legislation. The first three bills listed have to do with data centers. Bringing their own clean energy supply, 2, paying their fair share upfront infrastructure costs that they incur, as well as paying electricity rates appropriate to the size of their impact on the auction price. And 3, requiring transparency and reporting. Some of these are starting to move forward toward passing. Under fair rules, a bill is needed, but not yet introduced, to remove the lucrative tax incentives. Data centers should also pay their fair share of taxes. Under responsible siting, oh, I didn't go to the next slide. Sorry. Let me start over. The first 3 bills listed have to do with data centers, bringing their own clean energy, paying their fair share upfront, and paying electricity rates appropriate to the size of their impact on the auction price. And 3, transparency and reporting. Under fair rules, a bill is needed but not yet introduced to remove the lucrative tax incentives. Data centers should also pay their fair share of taxes. Under responsible siting, there's a bill that provides for statewide rules. And last, needed but not yet laid out, is protection of air, water, and public health. I'll hand it over to Steve now for our final section on new technologies, such as that plug-in solar array you see in the picture.
Oh, I love new technologies. You know, I can't wait to pick up these inexpensive solar panels from Costco or Home Depot and experiment with these plug-and-play solar panels. They seem so simple, placed where and when desired, but ongoing perfection by UL certification and National Electric Code is nearing completion, and their requirements are likely to require these solar panels to ship with a kit of parts that will make it safe for use when installed. And you need to install with an existing or new dedicated outdoor electrical box, which is installed by a qualified person. So that's the catch.
Creating jobs.
But it does create jobs, which means it's more likely to be voted positively in New Jersey by the legislature. Next. So we have all the technologies we need now with proven deployment models to reduce emissions 50% in this decade and reach net zero by 2050 if we decide to make necessary changes. Now, from left to right, this slide shows wind energy, solar, grid-scale battery storage, sustainable land use, and regenerative agriculture. On the bottom, left to right, are EVs, heat pumps, energy efficiency and weatherization, and LED lights. The last 25 years have seen proliferation of technology. We now have the ability to band together thousands of individual businesses and residences and reduce our peak electric load and minimize our electric bill. Next. Those freely available balcony solar panels are a prime example of permitting reform. New Jersey already requires quick permitting to speed up solar installation and lower the price of rooftop solar and batteries, and make it easy to combine farming and solar. And we desperately need the return of plentiful offshore wind to lower our peak demand. Next. We must eliminate the peak each evening to lower the risk of blackouts and to lower prices. This peak is not constant. It varies over season and location, so we need intelligent software that can predict the hours and minutes where we must control the peak. Numerous software developers have created software platforms that will meet our need. Next. And the question is, what is a virtual power plant? Well, we had a recent webinar which featured a principal from Sunrun, an energy aggregator, which has over 1 million U.S. customers in several states. And I would refer you back to them about 2 months ago, I think. These million are enrolled in demand response and virtual power plants. They help eliminate the electrical peaks. Each customer is paid for their energy contribution. Now, Sunrun is providing virtual power plants combining hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses. And that's a lot of power it can provide. Virtual power plants connect remotely to home smart thermostats, controls for space heating and water heating, EV chargers, solar systems, and connect to both wall and EV batteries to contribute all excess available power and lower the peak electrical load. The home or business owner is paid to provide that electricity. Next. This pictures the major home components wired together on a garage wall. A two-way smart EV wall charger also allows that huge capacity car battery on the left to feed the grid. On the right of this is on the top is rooftop solar, and to the right are Tesla batteries. And the brains are in the small white box labeled VPP Virtual Power Plant Hub / Smart Grid Connect. And this uses two-way communication link through the utility smart meters, which now everyone has in New Jersey. And this connects the data to a distant aggregator who operates the virtual power plant. And it's that aggregator who sells the contract for money and auctions like the PJM auction. Next. A virtual power plant can economically and quickly supply enormous amounts of energy. The costs of VPP programs pale in comparison to enormous costs of new generating plants and large grid infrastructure. Next. So here's a summary of what has changed to allow VPP, virtual power plants. A lot has changed. Cost impact of electrical peaks is enormous. We have fully deployed two-way smart meters. We have interconnected microgrids, smart components, which auto-search for and talk to each other because of industry standards. And we have dropping prices for solar, batteries, EVs, and smart components. Next. Each of our 4 New Jersey electric utilities has pilot programs which can be quickly leveraged. This is being pushed by FERC, that big boss for PJM. Also pushed by Governor Mikey Sherrill, who requires a plan within 180 days. And there's a new introduced New Jersey bill giving 12 months to implement a virtual power plant to reduce peak load. Most of the month of May, our teams are helping the New Jersey BPU define these programs to support the governor's executive orders. In fact, by yesterday's deadline, we provided our input on design of New Jersey's VPP program, thanks to Betsy, who helped combine it all. Thank you, Betsy. Next. This is a future home powered by clean energy, which is electrically integrated as a virtual power plant and supplying power to the grid. This is coming and could be in your home in a year when you will be invited to join a VPP to send your available energy to the grid. From the standpoint of New Jersey electric utilities, this is Electrification 2.0. A decade ago, Electrification 1.0 saw the generation of electricity split off as a separate entity. Now, in Electrification 2, our thousands or millions of small electric sources are joining all other electric sources, such as arranged by big players like PJM. That's a fast summary of where we are, where we're going. I would like to do a little quick poll of people. We have 20-some people. I'd like to know what percentage of you would sign up and join a virtual power plant in the future. A way to show this might be to click on the React menu button, just submit heart or something, or vote by raising your hand. Which of you would join a virtual power plant and make some money? One, two. I don't see everybody, so I don't know. A lot of hearts there. Thank you. They will be joining for sure.
Maybe it depends on how much they pay.
Yeah, so yeah, that's right. If people were after money, then they would wait a while till. There we go. Somebody raised. There's many thumbs. Well, I think it's a minority, Pat, of people I see on my screen.
Well, we'll just have to keep working on it.
Okay. Yeah. So the people on this meeting have been working with the BPU on VPP and all the other governor's executive orders this whole month of May. Our deadlines are coming up. Yesterday, another week before, we submitted something, and next one is in a week, maybe, and then a final one the end of May. So we're very busy, and we have first information and are providing input to the BPU. We invite others to join us if you know something about the technology and are interested in what the BPU is asking for in New Jersey. So it's an educational experience as well as you can offer your own thoughts on what is happening. We'd like to make sure the questions all get answered. We have enough experts on this call. I think we could answer just about anything.
Well, I think the first question is, you mentioned that utility scale solar is one of the cheapest energy sources right now. Moving forward, I'm curious about other solar markets. How do things look for residential, commercial, and nonprofit sectors? Well, the grid scale is what supplies all these sectors. And the reason grid scale is much less expensive than rooftop solar just because of the volume discount. So the bigger it is, the less it costs. And so but we're comparing grid scale solar to other grid sources of electricity generation, and grid scale solar is cheaper than gas, oil, or coal for sure. The second question was breaking down the highest bidder rule for me. Whoa. I want to make sure I fully grasp how that works. Maybe we ought to.
Betsy suggested a source in the chat, but Betsy could just comment briefly. She was the one that created that slide that we showed.
That was
she
a
might
long
explain it
time
very
ago,
fast.
though. She might have forgotten it by now.
No.
We'll see.
It's yeah, it helps to look at the picture, and the articles on the New Jersey Electrification Coaching Network Substack have those pictures in them and explain them. It takes you 3 or 4 times to read through it before you really get it. So Steve, you did a great job the first time through, but I think everybody needs to sort of walk through it again one more time. But basically, it's supply and demand. They forecast the demand, people bid for the supply, and the more demand there is, the more expensive energy you have to buy. You have to keep on buying until you meet the demand. But the kicker of the rule is that whatever the final price was at the highest price, everyone who supplies energy gets that price, and which is one of the rules that Steve and Pat mentioned bears looking at to be changed, and it's pretty counterintuitive. So that's why it's very, very important to bring down the peak energy, because that peak means that you've bought the most expensive energy, and then everybody gets it. So it propagates that extra cost through everybody. So read the article, look at the pictures again.
And I don't know whether you noticed on the graph where it showed the top price over the years, and the very last one, the price was 10 times as much as the previous year's closing price.
Yeah.
So that's why that gets averaged out over a lot of things, a lot of years and a lot of locations, but that's why our rates went up. And they will continue to go up until that whole impact is felt.
And why there's weird rules is because PJM is ruled by a fossil fuel industry. 80% of its members are fossil fuel aligned, and that the way they rank order and then everybody gets the top bid is, I'm sure, because it benefits the fossil fuel industry. That's why.
So there were some questions here further down in the chat about saying a little bit more about if you wanted to participate in the virtual power plant, what kind of equipment would you have that would qualify you to support to be part of it?
Yeah, the simple thing would be a setback thermostat, so that if you their data link would and you can get these thermostats for free, I think, when you do an energy audit from the utility. But the simplest thing would be, it turns back the thermostat, say, 3 degrees during certain hours of the time when they want energy. What they're doing is harvesting unused energy from you that you would otherwise have used to heat your house. Or, for the last 20 years, they have ability to change the hot water tank so that it turns it off or to a lower temperature to harvest that energy, so that you won't use your energy there. You could send it to the electric company to use instead of heating your water for a few hours, maybe. Those are simple examples. Anybody can do it, and you probably won't even know or see or feel the difference. So that's the simplest thing. If you have other things, of course, you have solar or batteries or an EV that has a lot of power. I mean, an EV battery just dwarfs anything else in the amount of power it can provide. That makes a huge impact. you might be worth 100 times that of somebody who's just reducing his thermostat setting. Are those good examples, or do you need more examples?
We'll let the person update their chat question.
The next one is, what can a person do if not in a standalone house? It really doesn't matter as long as you have your own account with the electric company and you have a smart meter, which I think we all have smart meters now. They were required to be put in throughout the state. But we're not doing anything with them until they get the programs up and running.
Well, they are doing things. They're billing us. The data, the smart meter is sending back every 15 minutes the data of electric consumption. And for business, it's like every 5 minutes. So yes, it's being used by your utility right now.
Who can I talk to about getting a proposal to get solar panels on my condo apartment building and its garages? If it's a condo, the first thing you have to talk to is the HOA. There really needs to be a law that they can't stop this sort of thing, but in many cases, the homeowners association has rules that you can't change the appearance of the outside of your building, and if it's a condo, you don't really own the outside of the building anyway, so it would have to be done for. It would have to be allowed or else done for the entire condo association.
I know of several associations that have electrified with solar the common community buildings, like the big meeting hall or the maintenance garage. You'll find solar on those rooftops. I've seen that several times now.
Here's a comment that says the daily energy auction, which is this one that is daily or as often as five minutes if they need more energy, is based on operational cost, which is why renewable can bid in lower but cannot do as well in the capacity auction because of resource variability. So that's a good point.
Let me raise one. I have a lot of positive news, actually. There's a new PJM director, president, who issued a white paper that says he thinks that within 2 years they're going to do away with that capacity auction. So that's probably going to be the future of PJM. So these type of things, because there's so much pressure right now, PJM, even threats to dissolve it, they are willing to do things like that.
Okay, the next one from Nick says, a lot of what you've been discussing focuses on single-family homes. To address the housing scarcity in New Jersey, there's an emphasis on multifamily dwelling and refurbishing existing buildings. You don't seem to be addressing those issues. Some cannot put up solar panels and may not have a source to charge an electric car. Well, that's true, and there are special programs that are for either commercial or multifamily buildings, but in that case, it would have to be, if you're going to do something like insulating or electrifying the whole building, then the owner of the building would be in charge of that.
My guess is the owner of a building would like the money. So that's where I would focus if I was in a rental dwelling.
But some of these programs, like the VPP programs, it just depends on whether you have your own electric account. So you could you could do things inside your unit. You couldn't get solar except for balcony solar. The plug-in solar, that's one of the really huge benefits of that. You can put that on any wall or in the yard or on top of another accessory building um, without even I think it's going to be without even a permit, and you just buy the kit and you can attach it, and everyone in a big apartment building that has a south or semi-south facing wall could put one outside their window, even if they didn't have a balcony.
Also, community solar.
Oh, community solar is for anybody.
And you get, I mean, I don't understand people who do not sign up for community solar. You save 20%, over 20% on your electric bill. And yet, how many people sign up? No, maybe 20%. I don't know. The rest of you who don't subscribe, who don't have solar, don't want solar, you can save money by just signing up. And it takes like 10 minutes. And then you start saving in the future, 20% of your electric bill.
I see that Carol has raised her hand.
You're muted. You have to unmute. The mute button is how you get to it.
She typed into last I heard, the plug-in solar bill was tied up in the New Jersey Assembly. That's what she typed.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
yes. Yeah.
She was trying to find out whether anything has happened to that. That bill, before any of us even knew anything about it, was introduced in the New Jersey Senate. It was voted out of, I'm sure it was the Energy Committee, voted out of committee, went to the floor of the Senate, and passed unanimously. It then was immediately sent to the appropriate committee in the Assembly, which is the Utilities Committee, and nothing has happened. So somehow we need to get the word out to that committee that it does in fact create jobs the way it's written now, because it would take an electrician or someone who could do an electrical job to install this the plugs in the plug-in receptacle in the kit. So I don't see any downside to this bill at all. I can't understand. I do understand why the Senate passed it unanimously. I can't understand why the Assembly is not doing anything. And Francie's asking about the Condo Apartment Building Association getting the solar panels, and they need a plan and a proposal. I think if you went to just about any solar company, they would be willing. We did this once with a development down the street from us, close by, and we asked someone to come out and talk about what they would have to do, and she was willing to come and sit down with us. They really couldn't go any further than that because the homeowners association refused to. But I think even for a large, this would be I guess a commercial installation. You could go to Energy Sage and get the names of various different solar vendors.
What's Energy Sage? I just figured out how to unmute. What is Energy Sage?
It's an online program that takes your location and gives you a list of vendors that you might be interested in contacting.
Yeah, it can very quickly, once you enter your zip code, basically, it will very quickly return a number of vendors that can provide immediate quotes. So it's a very fast way to get multiple quotes.
Great. And are they like honest? Who is Energy Sage? Is it nonprofit?
Oh yeah, it was created by Department of Energy, so it's a federal organization, which probably was kicked out and now, but I don't know if it's on its own or not. But it's been used by thousands of green teams across the nation, exclusively to get bids on solar for residents and communities.
So it's a federal program?
Quasi-federal, yes.
And
federal origins.
It hasn't been killed?
Yeah, well, it's still live. I noticed some of their links are now open, but most of the major ones are still being used. They also do things like give you heat pump vendors. So if you wanted to put in your zip code, you have a need for HVAC.
Yeah, I already have a heat pump. In fact, I was on your panel a while back about individuals getting heat pumps in their homes. Yeah, so that I had to vet a bunch of vendors on my own until I could find Chris Wisniewski, who I know has spoken on the panels. I referred him to you, and he was, reliable. But he's kind of a small guy. I don't know if he could do a big project like our whole complex. That's why I was wondering. I would assume that you have to be, geared different to do like a commercial size solar electrification. But what's your experience with that?
I don't know if Energy Sage does commercial type things. Does anybody? I don't know. I don't know how it's used, but the uses for me, for the people I know have used it, they are residential buildings.
In multifamily, you mean? Or just single home?
Just single homes, as far as I know. It may be expanded. I don't know.
Okay. Well, if anybody knows of reputable and competent company that could do a small apartment building, we got lots. We have actually lots of roof space because we have. It's just the building. The way the building is, it has a big footprint. Even though it doesn't have that many units, we have lots and lots of roof space. We have 20 garages with lots of roof space. We have lawn space. We could produce way more than we need and probably put it back into the grid. So, the thing is that, everyone knows about it theoretically, but we don't know where to go to actually make it happen.
Go to Seabright Solar.
Seabright with a BR.
Like the town, Seabright Solar.
Okay.
I've had a lot of experience with them. They're really good.
Yeah. We do recommend Seabright. I don't know if they do commercial solar. Does anybody know? They do?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And who's that? Carol?
Carol Van Kirk.
I'm sorry, what's your last name?
Van Kirk. VANKIRK.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You can get my info from Pat, Steve, whatever.
Great. Thank you. That'd be great.
Howie has his hand up. I don't know if this is a comment or a question. You're on mute, though.
Comment. I think you will find that searching on the internet will help you find a vendor. I went and looked at Energy Sage, and I found them to be somewhat, shall we say, commercial. They wanted all of your information, and they would disseminate it to vendors. And I think that Francine would probably, from the conversation, would probably prefer to go pick and choose somebody on her own, and this is going to require a certain amount of homework. It's you should certainly go to 2 or 3 different vendors in any case,
Yeah.
simply because there's lots of different wrinkles especially in a commercial thing. The roof strength has got to be factored in among other things.
Good point. Does anyone know about companies? I mean, there used to be when there were still subsidies and it was all more green oriented administrations around. There were a lot of companies that were pitching, no upfront costs. I guess they shared in the profits, and the costs were minimal or amortized for the buildings with getting the solar panels. Are those kind of programs and vendors still around, or is it really
yes.
died down?
Those guys are around. They're basically making their money on the financing charges, which were quite extraordinary. And when I did my house, I went out to the local credit union and got a loan from them. So now I own the system. I get the SRECs. And I had a failure of the inverter, and the inverter manufacturer sent me a new unit which I installed. So there's no totally free lunch, but you got to put some money up front, or you're at the mercy of your vendor.
Another example may work. The way that large companies like all the schools around my town and junior college, everybody has now used purchase power agreements. They've contracted with a solar installer to do all the schools and all the parking area of, for instance, our local junior college. And the arrangement is that you buy they install for free, and they sell you a purchase power agreement. So you pay them for the solar generation with a big discount over what you'd pay your local utility. So it's a win-win situation. But they are designed to handle big installations, and maybe would do a condo association type arrangement. It sounds like would be up their alley. So if you find out what the purchase power agreement company is used by your local schools, for instance, then use that for your condo association.
Oh, great idea. Yeah.
Do your individual condo units have their own meters, or do you have a single meter for the whole?
It's individual meters. Why do you ask?
Because if it's individual meters, each unit is probably going to have its own solar system. I think. I don't know. Got to think about that a little bit.
Well, that's an interesting idea. I wonder how much square solar panel space each apartment might need. And I mean, I don't expect you to answer it. I wonder, is someone able to calculate that? Because right now, each unit has its own water heater and furnace and electrical. So and they, everyone has their compressors either on the roof. It's only a 2-story building, so the people who are on the second floor have their compressors on the roof, and the people who live on the first floor have it in the garden, around their unit, And so I put a heat pump in. I live on the first floor, and I have my compressors, just outside in my garden behind a bush. So I electrified my HVAC. On my own, but for a solar panel, we'd put the panels up on the roof. So just if you can, what I'm saying is, if we can do it with HVAC, maybe we can do it with solar also. So that people who are not interested, don't have to, and those of us who are, can can put our solar panels up on the roof.
Orion has his hand up. It's,
So, Francie, I think you're overthinking this. All of the community solar groups will be happy to find new real estate where they can put their solar panels, and then so that you'll get a credit on your electrical bill every month. But and they'll do all the work and negotiate with the homeowners association to get the permission to build on your facility.
Oh, okay.
That's a great idea.
I thought it was more like a program as opposed to a discrete company. So community solar is actually a company?
It's a
oh
bunch
no,
of
it's a
companies.
state program,
Oh,
but
The state
but it's
program, but
run.
there's a bunch of companies that build them.
okay. So does anyone have a link to, where, do I just put community solar in New Jersey, or how do I actually?
We put a couple of the links been put in the chat a couple times. So if you take a look, you can find
Okay,
it.
I'm on my cell phone, so it's hard to.
Oh, it's
Go to the Sustainable Jersey site, and you have to look for it. But there is a community solar locator, I think it's called.
or if you Google community solar project finder, New Jersey, community solar project finder, New Jersey, you'll find it.
If you Google like something like Community Solar Portal, you will be taken to a sign up site for solar installers. People who want to do community solar actually sign up for New Jersey programs. If you can find that list of those people, those companies, they would be highly reliable for you.
You better also put New Jersey in the
New
Google
New Jersey
search.
Community Solar Portal.
There was a question in there about time of use rates and whether they were in effect. I didn't know the answer to that question. I guess depends on the utilities and what they do.
Yeah, I think that came from Eric, and he's JCP&L. I think there might be some pilot programs around us, because I know someone in Homedale who says she has time of use rates, but I know PSE&G has time of use rates, and people talk about getting their $50 check up front to sign on for them. I assume they get something down the line too for actually participating.
I know. Well, I know my son up here in Bergen County. We have Rockland Electric. He looked into it, but he said that the hours that you couldn't really use much electricity were so long that he has a family and kids running around. He said it was completely not doable. So,
But the one my daughter is in is PSE&G, and it's just for her car battery. So it limits when she can charge a car battery, which she is happy to do because it's easy to do. I don't think it's done by the utility though. I think she has to schedule it on the car.
I wanted to have one more input on the community solar idea. Solar Landscape is the big lion, the biggest builder, and would have a good feel, I think, for like doing a whole condo as a community solar project. Do the whole campus as a community solar site. That would be a really interesting thing if you want to get hold of somebody who knows what they're talking about. Solar Landscape is a company, and the headquarters is in what is it, Lakewood, or it's Asbury Park. I think it's Asbury Park.
I think it's Asbury Park.
And I've had them on our webinar in the
But
past.
they are all over the state.
They are.
So it's not limited to this area.
Yeah. So call them and ask.
Well, we're past the hour of 8:15, so I know some of the questions have been answered in the chat, and you might not have heard the answer to your question, or you might not have seen it if it's in the chat, but we will be sending the chat out. That includes both questions and answers. Is there anybody that has a pressing question that didn't get answered? Now I see there are 3 new ones. I didn't get there yet. No, they're just
Well,
comments.
oh, comments.
Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone who came and everyone who stayed around this long. We really appreciate your participation because it gives us a lot of information then that we can use in our stakeholder comments to the BPU, and when we go to legislative hearings also, it's really good to have customers' input. So you're all customers, none of us, but of the electric companies. Okay.
Oh, let me put a plug in for the next webinar. On June 18th, this third Thursday of June, Matt Kavanaugh is our energy consultant. He'll be back on the show. He has his whole house can island. He now has an EV that has a big battery, and so he now has connected that to his whole house as well. So he can island means he can go for days or maybe weeks even now without the power company. He's self-sufficient, and he's done complete economic analysis of everything he's done at every stage. And he'll come on the show talking about the economics of that last slide you saw of this modern electric house. He'll tell you what it costs to do that and how much money you're saving and what the rate of return is on your investment if you want to build that house. And honestly, you do make money. So June 18th at 7 p.m., Matt Kavanaugh.
And all this renewable energy is just getting cheaper and cheaper as we go along. So unlike everything else in our lives, clean energy is going down instead of up. Okay.
Thank you for joining us. We honestly like to do this because it's fun. And we have a community people, and this is part of our New Jersey Electrification Coaching Network. We like to help people. So thank you for joining us. We hope we've given you the right answers that you would appreciate. Thank you.
And thank you, Betsy,
join us in the future.
for answering questions as well as admitting people to the waiting room.
Yes, thank you.
And thanks, Mike, for answering questions too.
We will be on vacation in July, so we are back live June 18th, and then probably back in August. We'll be back live. Just keep in touch with us.
I had a coaching question for Steve and Pat after everybody leaves. So.
Oh, sure. Do you want me to turn off the recording? I probably will edit this so that it's only the major part of this. Let me turn it off. Okay.